Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Elhanan Gazit, also called V-Rider, short for Virtual Rider, and welcome to my podcast, Gameful Mindset in the Gen AI era. I'm thrilled to launch one study, a new segment in my podcast, where me and my AI co-host, Marshal and Daphne, unpack one scientific study at a time to uncover practical insight to enhance our daily lives through my Gameful Mindset method. In this first episode, I share a decisive personal moment. My son Nir, a talented DJ, played music this week for children with cancer at a Purim event organized by an Israeli non-profit organization, Larger Than Life. Larger Than Life provides Israeli families affected by pediatric cancer with emotional, logistical, and recreational support. Seeing the kids in the family dance, smiling, full of energy, highlights for me the profound impact music and interactive shared experiences can have on resilience, well-being, and rehabilitation. And that's exactly the focus of today's One Study episode. How active video games, AVGs, a growing field in medtech, can help cancer patients by providing endurance, reduce fatigue, and enhancing quality of life. I also share the inspiring story of Ben's Game, a young cancer patient who created a video game with LucasArts developer to fight his illness, empowering himself and others with strength, control, and profound agency. This episode delivers valuable lessons for all of us, not just kids. So tune in, share it with a friend, and discover how to build resilience and well-being through gameful mindset. And I finish with the Greek philosopher Plato, who said, "Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything."
Welcome to Meta Yeda with your host, Dr. Elhanan Gazit, your ultimate destination for leaders and creators. Here, we share some of the best metaverse, gaming, and digital innovation news, stories, and insights. Think fast, level up smart. Game on.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into a fascinating study for our One Study Corner, exploring the world of active video games and how they might just improve the well-being of cancer patients. And this topic is really personal to our source for today, Dr. Elhanan Gazit. You might know him from his research on happiness and wealth in the gaming industry.
Absolutely. And this study actually comes from a really personal experience for Dr. Gazit.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'd love to hear more about that. What's the story there?
Well, Dr. Gazit's son, he's a DJ, and he got this opportunity to perform for kids with cancer at a Purim event. Seeing their resilience and just their joy, even while facing such difficult challenges, it really moved Dr. Gazit. It reminded him of the incredible power of games to lift spirits and empower people.
I can only imagine how powerful that experience must have been. It makes me think of Ben's Game. We've talked about it before on the show. It's such a great example of how a video game can give someone a sense of control and agency, even in the middle of a really tough situation.
It is. For those who haven't heard of it, Ben's Game was designed for a young boy, Ben, who was battling leukemia. He had this dream of a game where he could fight his cancer head-on, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation, along with some amazing developers at LucasArts, they actually made that dream a reality.
That's incredible. So in the game, Ben got to skateboard through this virtual world, blasting cancer cells and collecting shields to protect himself from the side effects of treatment, right?
Yeah. And what's really powerful is that the game designers made a very deliberate choice to never let Ben's character die. It's such a beautiful symbol of that fighting spirit, that refusal to give up that we see in so many children facing serious illnesses.
That's a really profound point. And it ties in so perfectly with the study we're looking at today. It takes a deeper look at those physiological and psychological effects of active video games, or AVGs, specifically on cancer patients.
Right. And the specific study we're focusing on is a systematic review from 2023 by Percon and Ribillard. Basically, they wanted to find out if AVGs could improve well-being for cancer patients and how they stack up against traditional physiotherapy.
So what did they find? Were these games actually helpful?
Well, the results are pretty interesting. One of the big takeaways is that AVGs seem to be really promising for improving endurance in cancer patients.
Ah.
Actually, most of the studies in the review showed a positive effect on those endurance levels.
That's encouraging to hear, especially because fatigue is such a common side effect of cancer treatments, and it can be really debilitating.
Exactly. If you improve endurance, it could mean that patients can participate more in their daily activities and maybe even counter some of that treatment-related fatigue.
So it sounds like AVGs might be a really good tool for helping cancer patients regain stamina and strength. Did the study look at other physical benefits like, strength training or body composition?
They did, and those results, they were a little bit more mixed. It seems that AVGs didn't have as much of an impact on strength or body composition. It's probably because a lot of the games they studied didn't really include those structured strength training exercises.
That makes sense. I wouldn't expect a game focused on dancing or virtual sports to build muscle the same way lifting weights would. But even if AVGs aren't a replacement for traditional strength training, they could still be a great option for boosting cardiovascular health and endurance, right?
Definitely. And there's another really interesting finding when you compare AVGs to standard physiotherapy. Even though AVGs might not be as physically demanding, the study showed that patients actually stuck with them more often.
That's so interesting. So maybe traditional physiotherapy is more effective in terms of just physical exertion, but AVGs seem to have an edge when it comes to getting patients to actually do them. What do you think is behind that?
Well, I think the fun factor is a big part of it. AVGs just feel more like play than a workout, which can make it a lot easier for patients to stay engaged and motivated. And a lot of AVGs can be done right at home, so no need to go to a gym or a clinic.
You're right that accessibility and enjoyment are so key for any type of exercise program. It's especially true for folks dealing with the added challenges of a cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Exactly. The study also showed that supervised AVG sessions had much lower dropout rates compared to unsupervised sessions. So it looks like having that structured guidance and support can really boost how well people stick with it and get the most out of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Having someone there to keep you accountable and motivate you can make a huge difference.
Definitely. It really highlights how important it is for healthcare professionals to think about integrating AVGs into their treatment plans and to give patients the support they need to make the most of these tools.
I agree. It seems like there's a big opportunity to bring AVGs into cancer care in a way that's both effective and engaging for the patients.
And it's not only about those physical benefits. The study also looked into the psychological impact of AVGs, and there are some pretty compelling findings on that front as well.
Oh, I'm definitely curious about that. What did they find about the psychological effects of AVGs on cancer patients?
Well, one of the biggest things they saw was a reduction in fatigue scores. Most of the trials in the review found that patients felt a noticeable decrease in their fatigue levels after using AVGs.
That's fantastic. We've been talking about how much fatigue affects cancer patients and how it can really impact their quality of life and make treatment tougher. If AVGs can help ease that fatigue, that's a huge win.
For sure. And the benefits didn't stop there. They also found improvements in overall quality of life for most of the patients. Some studies even reported a decrease in depression symptoms, though it seemed like anxiety levels didn't really change much.
That's fascinating. So AVGs might not be a magical fix for every psychological challenge, but they do seem to have a positive impact on mood, energy, and overall well-being.
Yeah, I think it speaks to that broader power of play and engagement when it comes to mental and emotional health, even when you're going through something really tough.
I totally agree. Now, the study shows some promising benefits, but I'm sure there are also some challenges and limitations to think about when it comes to actually using AVGs for cancer care. Did the study address any of that?
Yes, absolutely. One of the main challenges they highlighted is whether it's actually feasible to implement AVGs for all cancer patients. They found that over half of the eligible patients were willing to participate in the AVG interventions, which is a good sign. But the dropout rates were higher for patients with more advanced cancers or those going through really intense treatments, which is understandable.
Yeah, I can see that. If someone is dealing with more severe symptoms or a demanding treatment plan, it makes sense that finding the time and energy for AVGs might be tough.
Exactly. It really emphasizes the need to tailor approaches to each individual and recognize that AVGs might not be a good fit for everyone.
So we've covered a lot here. We've seen that AVGs have the potential to improve both physical and psychological well-being for cancer patients. But there are also things to think about when it comes to putting them into practice. What does all this mean for our listeners? How can we apply these findings to everyday life?
That's the big question, right? The study offers some really valuable insights that all of us can consider, whether cancer directly affects us or we're just looking for ways to boost our own well-being.
I'm excited to dig into those practical takeaways.
Me too. Let's switch gears now and explore how we can turn these research findings into things we can actually do for ourselves and the people we care about.
Let's do it.
So how do we actually put this research into practice? One of the things that really struck me was how AVGs could be a great way for cancer patients to get some exercise, especially when those traditional workouts might feel like too much.
Yeah, I get that. It's kind of like sneaking in veggies for kids who hate vegetables, If it's fun, they don't even realize they're doing something healthy.
Exactly. And the study even suggests that AVGs might actually work better than traditional physiotherapy sometimes, just because people are more likely to actually do them. It's about hitting that sweet spot between something that works and something that's enjoyable.
Okay, so what kind of games are we talking about specifically? Any examples?
Oh, there's a whole bunch out there. Really depends on what someone enjoys and what they're physically able to do. You've got those classics like Wii Fit, which is great for balance and some light cardio. Then there are the more intense ones like Beat Saber, where you're slashing targets to music and getting your heart rate up. And even games like Connect Sports. Those use motion tracking, can actually give you a pretty good workout.
Sounds like there's something for everyone, which is awesome. And if you're dealing with fatigue, like the study mentioned, even a little bit of movement can make a difference. You don't have to go all out. Just find ways to move your body and have a good time doing it.
That's the key takeaway, It's about finding what works for you, what you enjoy, what you can actually fit into your life.
I love that approach. It's not about pushing yourself to the limit. It's about making movement a regular part of your routine that you can actually stick with. And that connects so well to the idea of a gameful mindset, something Dr. Gazit talks a lot about.
It absolutely does. Bringing in those elements of play, challenge, and reward can completely change how we approach pretty much anything, not just exercise.
So for our listeners, where do they even begin to incorporate this into their lives? What are some practical steps they can take?
Well, honestly, don't overthink it. Start with something that sounds fun, whether it's a dance game, some virtual tennis, or even one of those fitness adventure games. And remember, it's all about being consistent. Even just 15 or 30 minutes a few times a week can make a real difference.
I love that you highlighted that enjoyment aspect. If you hate doing something, chances are you're not going to do it right.
Yeah.
Find something that makes you happy, that actually makes you want to move.
Exactly. And another thing, think about ways to make it social. Playing with family or friends can make it more fun and keep you motivated. Or even join an online community. Find people who are into the same things you are.
That's a great idea. We're social beings, and having that support system can really make a difference. It reminds me of what you mentioned earlier about those supervised AVG sessions having lower dropout rates.
Yes, that social aspect is so important, and it's something that healthcare providers can really take advantage of. Imagine having group classes using AVGs tailored to different fitness levels and interests. It could be a fantastic way for people to connect and support each other while getting active.
Oh, I love that. It's like taking the best of both worlds, combining the social aspect of a group fitness class with all the fun and engagement of a video game. It just sounds like a winning formula.
It really does, and it shows how AVGs can be more than just something you do on your own. They can be a part of healthcare and community wellness, bringing people together.
That's such an exciting thought. And speaking of Dr. Gazit, you mentioned he has a new book coming out soon that explores that gameful mindset idea in more detail, right?
He does. The book is called Gameful Mindset X AI, Your Secret Compass for Innovation, Impact, and Fulfillment in the Gen AI Era. I'm really curious to see how he digs into this connection between gameful thinking and the world of AI, which is changing so rapidly.
Me too. It feels incredibly timely, with AI becoming such a big part of our lives these days.
For sure. Dr. Gazit's work will definitely give us some important things to think about as we navigate all these new developments and figure out how to use technology for good.
Well, we'll definitely keep our listeners updated on the book's release and share more about it as we learn more. But for now, let's shift back to the study and think about this question. Would you consider using AVGs as part of your own wellness journey, even if you're not a cancer patient?
It's a really good question to think about. This particular study focused on cancer patients, but the main ideas apply to all of us, right? We all benefit from finding ways to move our bodies that we actually enjoy, ways to manage stress, and ultimately to feel better.
That's so true. It goes beyond just being physically fit. AVGs can challenge us mentally. They can boost creativity. They can even help us connect with other people. There's so much to gain from that playful, exploratory approach to life.
I totally agree. And it reminds us that health and wellness don't have to be about these rigid rules or strict routines. It can be about finding that joy in movement, tapping into the power of play, and reconnecting with that part of ourselves that loves to explore and discover.
So well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into AVGs and their impact on well-being, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought. What if we all approached our lives with just a little bit more of that gameful spirit? What if we saw challenges as opportunities to grow? What if we looked for rewards that truly nourish us? And what if we gave ourselves permission to just have fun along the way?
I love that. It goes right back to what Dr. Gazit is all about, this idea of cultivating a gameful mindset. It's about finding that spark of joy, that sense of purpose, and that drive to keep getting better in every part of our lives.
So as we close out this deep dive into the world of AVGs and how they can impact our well-being, I want to encourage all of you listening to think about how you can bring more playfulness and joy into your own journey. It could be through AVGs, through music, or any other activity that lights you up. Embrace the power of play and see how it can transform your entire experience.
And remember, even the tiniest steps can lead to big changes. Just start by adding a few minutes of playful movement into your day. See how it makes you feel. You might be surprised at the ripple effects it has in your life.
Couldn't agree more. And stay tuned for more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics, exploring the connections between technology, well-being, and what it means to be human. Until next time, keep exploring, keep playing, and keep those minds engaged.
And as always, don't be afraid to hit that start button on your own journey of discovery and growth. Who knows what amazing adventures are out there waiting for you?
You know, as we've been talking about the possibilities of these active video games, I can't help but think about how much things have changed, even just over the past few years.
Oh, it's true. Technology is moving so fast these days.
And it's really exciting to see how we can use it for good, especially when it comes to healthcare and well-being.
Yeah, I think this study is a great example of that. It shows us that it's important to be open to new ideas, new ways of doing things, especially when you're talking about our health.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with this thought. What if we all took on this gameful mindset that Dr. Gazit talks about and applied it to our health and wellness? What if we actually embraced the challenges, looked for the rewards, and most importantly, allowed ourselves to have fun along the way?
It's a really powerful way to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking of exercise as a chore, as something you have to do, what if we saw it as a chance to level up our well-being, to achieve something, to connect with other people in a meaningful way?
Exactly. And remember, it doesn't have to be this huge all-or-nothing thing. Start small, try things out, find what works for you.
Every step you take, even the smallest ones, they all add up, They're all moving you in the right direction.
That's such a good point. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about Dr. Gazit and his work, especially his upcoming book on the gameful mindset, be sure to follow our podcast for all the updates. We'll definitely share more info as it becomes available.
Oh yeah, it's a topic that's definitely worth exploring more deeply.
Well, that's about it for today's Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, keep those minds engaged, and keep diving deep into the things that matter.
And never forget, the power of play is a real thing. Don't underestimate it.
Think fast, level up smart. Game on.